Hey YouTube, it's Mark.
And Rocky.
And we are
This Cruise Life.
Today we're coming to you from a very special location, the library. Also known as...
the Mark Twain Library on board the Norwegian Sky.
We are going to bring you all around this 25-year-old vessel to show you all of the food venues.
Yeah, the places you can get a drink.
As well as all of the entertainment spots on board, plus a couple of cruise tips. So, let's jump in for the tour.
Let's go.
We've had 9 days to explore Norwegian Sky, and so we're going to go deck by deck, starting with deck 12, the sports deck. Up here at the very front of the ship, you've got the hot tub to take in the beautiful views, along with the Splashes Kids Pool.
That's right. So when you want to get away from those kids, you head a little bit further aft and you've got the outdoor seating area. There's a lot of weird tiered areas where you can lay out and just enjoy and soak up the sun.
Tons of space here, as you can see.
Right. And then a little bit further after that is the Champs Bar. And this bar is kind of a cool location. It's the highest most bar on the ship, and it also is really close to the smoking area there on deck 12.
Lots of great drinks. We got that blue and white drink mixed
Oh, yeah.
drink there. Oh, that's a great one. So as you come back from that, you've got the Promenade, which is open to below, so you can actually look down on all of the pool decks and see everyone laying out and lounging out down there. And as you come back from that, you've got the basketball/volleyball net court. We didn't see it set up as volleyball throughout our journey.
No.
It was set up as basketball throughout that journey, but that sports kind of court is right there.
Yeah, and then on the starboard side, just a little bit further after that is where you find the golf driving range. So they've got 2 netted cages where you can practice your swing at golf.
Speaking of sports. Then as you head aft from the golf range on the starboard side of the ship, you've got Cagney's Steakhouse, one of the many upcharge venues that are available for you to enjoy on Norwegian Sky.
Right, and then on the port side, immediately opposite of that, is the Pinnacle Lounge and Sushi Bar. So it's a place that during the daytime you got just open seating where you can enjoy some quiet time, or at night it turns into a sushi bar.
In fact, can we put a picture of our sushi right here?
Right there. And then the very aft of deck 12 has some seating that's kind of part of the buffet if you want to sit up there. Some of it's covered, some of it's not. So first come, first serve.
And it looks down into that seating on the next deck that we're
That's
going to
right.
talk about in a moment. Open to below, and you can see the wake of the ship from there.
Right.
Okay, let's jump on down to deck number 11.
We are now at the pool deck, deck 11, starting with the Spinnaker Observation Lounge at the forward. Now there is that outdoor space at the very front of this deck. We absolutely loved that space. And then you come inside to the Observation Lounge, which was wonderful. They have a full bar. This is where they had karaoke in the evening hours.
As you come inside from the Spinnaker on the port side, you've got the aerobic studio where they've got some bikes available as well as mats. And as you continue aft from that, you've got the gym, the Pulse Fitness Center. And so we loved how much space was in that gym, as you can see here.
Right, and then on the starboard side of the ship, you have the Mandara spa offerings from a mudroom. They've also got your sauna, your steam room, your locker rooms, as well as all of your treatment facilities for the spa.
Now keep in mind, all of that is an upcharge. None of that is included in your cruise fare.
That's true.
Okay, as we leave that area of the ship and we head outside, before we get outside, we actually have that elevator lobby that looks all the way down to the atrium below. Really cool space before we come on outside.
Right. Now, as we head outside on the port side of the ship, this is where you're going to find a semi-permanent smoking section, kind of a strange thing. Sometimes we went out there and we saw signage for it, and other times not. There was also ping pong tables, so those were actively in use pretty frequently throughout the cruise.
And as you come back from that, you've got a stage where they did live shows, singing, the bands played. That's where the glow party was. There's an entire dance floor there as well.
Right, and then further after that, you have one pool, 4 hot tubs, and another pool. Such a strange layout, but it was really cool. We always saw those hot tubs in use, and those pools, especially on those hot days when we were down in the Caribbean.
And wrapping around all of that space really are lounge chairs and places that you can lay out. Tons and tons of seats on this ship, from deck 12 that we talked about at the forward, as well as that pool deck.
Right. Now, before we head inside, we come to Topsider Bar at the very aft of that open space, and that is a great bar for your poolside beverages. They have slushy machines. And it was also a great spot.
Cruise tip, this is where we got all of our morning beverages each day because there wasn't ever a line there. Now, your sailing may vary, but keep that in mind. Topsiders was a great spot to grab beverages.
Now on the port side, as we head inside, this is where you're gonna find La Cucina. La Cucina is a great space for lunch. Many people don't know about it, especially early on in the cruise. You can get your pizzas and your Thai ramen bowls inside. And then in the evening hours, it converts into a wonderful Italian restaurant, one of those upcharge options on your cruise.
Look at him dropping the cruise tips and not even mentioning it. Go there for lunch, it's delicious. On the starboard side of the ship, you've got the soft serve ice cream machine. Now, for our sailing, we had someone serving ice cream the entire time, which we absolutely loved. There was never a mess. And that's at the entrance to the Garden Cafe, the ship's buffet.
That's right. Now, as you enter the buffet, it's kind of a strange layout. When the buffet is operational, you head forward and you can go to the ice cream parlor where they serve ice cream, and they also have a crepe station where you can get crepes made fresh. If that station is closed, then you have to go through this annoying pinch point into the rest of the buffet.
It's a whole thing. We talked about how much we hated this in our full review. Go check that out. Bizarre.
Yep.
There's also the juices and beverage station right there at the entrance as well. So there's a lot of things that all come together, and the entrance to the actual buffet line. Let's take a look at this buffet. You've got a salad bar, you've got all of your mains, you've got your hot stuff, your cold stuff, all of the desserts. Look at all this fruit that's there. There was quite a bit on the buffet. It was just such a strange layout.
And then as we move aft from that extra little grab and go stuff from the buffet, there is another set of buffet, more beverages, a hand wash station, and tons of seating over there on the starboard side of the ship.
And that seating really runs all the way until you get to the outside of the ship. So let's talk about the port side and what's over there.
That's where you have the Entourage Teen Club. Kind of a strange location being amidst all of the food offerings. And then immediately after that on the port side
is my favorite spot on board, the local. It is where I got my chili. We had a Reuben, fish and chips. I mean, it was just, the Buena Vista style Irish coffee. How could I forget?
That's right.
The other bars turned us away when we tried to order one, so we always had to go to the local to get it.
And as we move outside, both port and starboard side, they both come together in this great outdoor seating area. You have a extension of the buffet, essentially, from an outdoor perspective, where they've got your hot dogs and your hamburgers, all of your fixins. They had some Indian dishes back there as well. There's also a bar where you can get some of your drinks.
The pineapple surplus. I had multiple pineapple surpluses from this bar.
Right.
And then at the very aft, where you take in the wake of the ship, you've got a bunch of covered seating and some seating that is uncovered. And that first day we boarded,
embarkation,
the only seats that were available on the entire ship were in the direct sunlight. It was hot, but it's a great space back there, especially at night. I love that space.
Very true. All right, well, let's take it on down to deck number 10 and see what that looks like.
Okay, we're down to deck number 10, the Norway deck. Let's walk you through all of the stuff that's here. Oh wait, it's staterooms. Same with deck 9, which is the Fjord deck, and deck 8, where we stayed. Check out our room tour. That's the Viking deck.
Awesome.
Okay, let's jump on to deck 7. I covered 3 decks. Rocky, take it away on deck 7.
I've got 3 decks to go. We have arrived at the international deck, deck number 7. At the very forward of this deck, we find the Splash Academy Youth Center. This is where you've got all the different younger ages and activities for them. And then right next to that, as you move aft, is the arcade.
Now, we did hear on the Facebook group from folks staying in the rooms as you head aft of that, those hallways got loud with kiddos running up and down, playing in the arcade. And so just keep that in mind as you're booking your cruise.
Now, as we move aft from that space, we come to the main atrium. Here we have the atrium bar on the port side of the ship, and just opposite of that is the art gallery. And you have that massive atrium where you can see all the way up to 12 and all the way down to... Stay tuned and you'll find out.
Now, as you head aft from there, you run into the casino. Now, we didn't spend a ton of time in the casino, but we did stop at the casino bar a couple of times just to try out and see if there were different menus and drinks there. But there was plenty of space to game, and it wasn't super smoky.
No, it wasn't.
Ironically, the atrium outside of the casino was more smoky than the casino itself.
That's true. Now, as we head aft from the casino, we find the Tradewinds tax and duty-free shops. Huge space there on the port side of the ship. It is accessed from the starboard, which can be a little confusing. That's how large it is. You can find hats, you can find t-shirts, you can find all sorts of other wares that you may want.
Tobacco products, alcohol. This is also where your like drugstore type of stuff is. I mean, this is the shopping center for Norwegian Sky. And right outside of that on actual starboard side is the Starbucks. This Starbucks was never busy. Now, we didn't have the Starbucks package this time. We splurged a couple of times, but it was not like the Encore. I wish we would have had that package.
Yes.
But it was never busy, and it is just lovely to have your caffeine fix right there on deck 7.
Absolutely. Now, as we move to the very aft of the ship, we find something in a very strange place. At the aft of deck 7 is the Stardust Lounge. This is the show theater for the ship. Funny seeing it at the very back of the ship, but there it is.
We've seen a theater at the back of the ship before. That was MSC Meravilia, but that was like a secondary theater.
Right.
I've never seen the main show lounge at the aft of the ship before.
Correct.
Super fun.
And keep in mind, this is the upper level of that theater.
Great call. Great call. So let's jump on. That's it on deck 7, right?
That is it for deck 7.
Let's jump on down to deck 6.
Actually, Mark, we are now on deck 6A, the Oslo deck. This deck is found at the forward of the ship. It's tucked right under 7, and actually to get to this deck, you have to take stairs from the main stairwell down to deck 6A. There's no ramps. It is not ADA accessible, no elevators. Strange.
It's such a strange location. It's just like some rooms crammed at the front of the ship, tucked between 2 decks. We don't know if in the original design if these were additional crew staterooms or if it's always been that way, but Norwegian found a way on this ship to cram in some additional staterooms, and so they took advantage.
Strange. Now let's go down to deck 6.
Wait, that's it on deck 6A?
That's it for 6A.
Okay, deck 6 it is. We've made it down to deck 6, which is the Promenade deck on board Norwegian Sky. Now, the very front of the ship, it is all crew area, so no access on deck 6. When you come back from there, you're going to hit that atrium, that open air space, and elevators.
That's right. And on the port side in that atrium is where we find Effie jewelry on board, so you can get your nice fancy jewelry. And then on the starboard side, we've got a watch shop where you can go in and purchase any of those fancy watches. Yeah. Also in this area is the internet desk. We spent a little bit of time at that internet desk because we experienced some issues on our cruise.
It looks like it's kind of an afterthought. A table kind of set up there, but that's where it is. As you head back inside from the atrium area, you run into the Bliss Lounge and Bar.
Yes.
This is the nightclub on board, but it's also a space for during the day where they do future cruise talk, where they do the art gallery, the art auction. Right. But there's a bar that is operational in there as well. We did get some lemon drops there one night at the nightclub. There was also that Broadway style show that they hosted at Bliss. It's kind of an odd space for the nightclub as you walk through the hallway to get to the back of the ship, but it was a big space, and it was definitely redone in the dry dock.
Right. Now, as we exit the Bliss Lounge area, on the starboard side of the ship, you come to this little alcove where you enter a space and go down some stairs, and that's where you find the entrance to Le Bistro. Kind of tucked away, and we'll talk more about Le Bistro on the next deck.
Yep. And on the other side, on port side, when you exit the lounge area, you actually run into Sugarcane Mojito Bar. Now, I experienced Sugarcane Mojito Bar on Norwegian Encore. You can check that out here, and we spent a little bit of time there as well. They also hosted trivias there. Oh, remember? We won a trivia there.
Golden Girls Trivia.
That's fantastic.
Now, as we head a little bit further aft on the starboard side, we enter the photo gallery. You can see this area has been renovated or brought up to speed from the previous days when they used to print your photos. They've got kiosks all over. It looks really sharp now. And then there's the entrance to the library, the Mark Twain Library,
where we recorded the opening of this tour.
Yes. It is a huge space. So many books, and it was open during certain hours of the day when you could check out the books that you wanted to use and read.
Biggest library we have seen on the ocean. Couldn't believe how large it was. And then as you came further inside to the port side, that's where you had several conference rooms. We saw crew regularly in there. They were oftentimes in use, but there was one that was open where we could just sit and work and read, which was really lovely.
Yeah. And then as we move aft from there, we find ourselves in the lower level of the Stardust Lounge. Again, we spoke about it on the previous deck. It is a very nice theater, 2 decks. Just strange being at the aft of the ship.
Look at those round seats. I really think those are kind of cool.
Those barrel seats were not my favorite.
They weren't Rocky's favorite, but,
Not at all.
but check out the full review.
Yeah.
One of the probably defining features to me for Deck 6 that really wraps around everything we've talked about. See what I did there?
Good job.
It is the wraparound promenade on the exterior of the ship. We spent quite a bit of time out there. That's where we did some work because we had the best internet signal out there. We walked that track several times. The aft of the ship, you can watch the wake of the ship. We absolutely loved this exterior wraparound, and it goes 360 around the entire Norwegian Sky. One of my favorite features on this ship.
Right. That wraps up deck number 6. Let's make our way down to deck 5.
We have made it down to deck 5, the Atlantic deck. At the very front of this deck, you find some staterooms. Norwegian found a way to put some more staterooms in there. And then as you come out from those staterooms, you actually have, on the deck plan, it's listed guest entrance on both starboard and port. We didn't use these entrance areas, probably reserved for maybe the ports in Alaska where the tide changes, goes up and down.
Oh, there you go. Now, as we come into the atrium, a little bit aft of there, we find on the port side, guest services. Good location for it. And then immediately next to that is your onboard credit desk. Very interesting to see this desk. I've not seen this on any other cruise line. It was helpful at the end of the cruise.
It was nice to separate that traffic out from guest services, for sure.
Yeah. And then on the starboard side, that's where we have the shore excursions desk.
And don't forget, the future cruise desk is right there. The
Oh,
future
yes,
cruise
that's
office
right.
is right there as well.
Never used it.
Look at that.
Oops.
And then as we exit the atrium area, we hit the first main dining room, the Palace main dining room. We did enjoy dinner in this location one evening.
Right. And then as you walk through that, in case you have ADA needs, you can get through to the entrance for Le Bistro. Yep. Now, Le Bistro is on the starboard side of the ship, and it is a long and skinny Le Bistro.
It's so interesting. Look at this video.
Yeah, so it has on one side, you'll have the booths where you can seat 4 people or so. And then on the outside wall where the windows are, that's where you have 2 top tables. And the booths were for some reason elevated above the tables.
It was weird. So you kind of watched the people below you dining. It was
kind of
odd.
strange. Right. Now, at the very aft of the ship, we find the other main dining room called the Crossings Restaurant. And this is where you have your breakfast service during sea days as well as in port. You have your lunch service during sea days as well as dinner offerings.
Now, we ate here a lot. Cruise tip, go here for lunch. The lunch offerings here are so much better, in my opinion, than the buffet.
And you're not fighting the crowds and the pinch points.
So much better, so much better. Okay, that is deck number 5.
5.
Let's go down to the final deck, deck
All
number
right.
4.
We have made it to deck 4. This is the Biscan deck, and the forward of this deck is staterooms. That's all you find there. And then as you head a little bit further aft, it's not really a labeled area, so it's some sort of crew-only space.
So that's it. That is the final deck,
Oh,
at least on the deck plans,
Right.
according to Norwegian Cruise Line. Let's actually jump down to the very final deck that we, as guests, have access to, and that is deck number 3, unlabeled.
whoa. We are now on deck 3. As Mark mentioned, I can confirm that this does exist on the Norwegian Sky, as we had to go down there quite a few times when we pulled into port.
Thankfully, not for the medical center, which is
No.
at the front of this deck on the port side?
It is on the port
On
side.
the port side. And then when you come back from the medical center,
That's where you have your embark and debark location for water shuttle service, as well as when the ship docks in any of the ports of call.
yes, so that is where we spend our time, not in the medical center,
No.
just to clarify. And then the rest of the ship on the deck plan is just grayed out blank space, so crew space you do not have access to. But that wraps up all of the decks on board Norwegian Sky, all the way from the top on deck 12 down there to deck 3, that unlabeled secret deck.
Well, there you have it. That is our complete tour of the Norwegian Sky. We hope that you have enjoyed going through all of those unique spaces on board.
Let us know in the comments below what space stood out to you. Was there a space that you were like, I love that design? Or was there a space you were like, Tell me more about that, Mark and Rocky, because I'm not sure I understand.
That's right. Now, also, we have put out our full review of our experience of what we loved, what we didn't love, and what we hated about our 9-night cruise on board Norwegian Sky. So make sure you check that out.
And don't we have a room tour as well?
We do. Make sure you watch that.
I mean, so we've got all sorts of content out there. You could even there's probably a playlist you can click on over here. Until the next ship tour that we do, we hope you enjoyed this one. Give this a like, a thumbs up, all of those things.
Yep. And we will see you in our next video.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.